Good ever Shabbos, everyone. This week's portion is out of T'tzaveh. It deals with the sanctification of Aharon and his sons, that they should be the Kahanim, and it also deals with the special holy garments that they would wear during their service. The Parsha begins, Me'atah T'tzaveh, and you will command the children of Israel, and they will bring olive oil, pure olive oil unto you, and this olive oil will be used in the kindling of the menorah, which is in the tabernacle. The question is obvious. Why does it say Atah T'tzaveh, and you will command? Why does it have to repeat this idea of you? How many times does it have to say that? Not only that, the Kli Yakar says that it's totally superfluous. All it had to say was, Tzavis b'nei Israel, command the children of Israel. Why even mention you? And you, Moshe, you command. Why does it even have to mention that? It should just say, command the children of Israel. The Ramban notices this, and the Ramban says the reason why it states, and you should command the children of Israel, is to emphasize that this particular commandment cannot be expressed through any agent of Moshe or anyone else. It must come directly from Moshe. This is the Ramban's explanation. But as the Kli Yakar points out, Ramban doesn't say why. What is it about this particular mitzvah that Moshe can't say it and someone else explain it? This has to come exclusively from Moshe Rabbeinu. In addition, we find that a few verses later, Hashem says to Moshe, Va'atah, and you, Hakre ve'lecha Aaron achicha v'yazbana v'itayim, and you bring unto yourself Aaron, your brother, and his sons, l'chahanoi li, that they will become the kahanim, the priests who perform the service in the temple. Here too, why does it have to say, and you? It should just say, Hashem is talking to Moshe. It should say, Hakre ve'lecha, bring your brother unto you. What is it? And you. And then 2 verses later, it says, when Moshe is speaking to those of a wise heart of Klal Yisrael, who are going to be the ones who make the actual sacred raiments and clothing of the Kahanim, here too it says, V'yatah tedaber al kol chachmei leiv, and you shall speak to all those who have a wise heart. You shall speak to them, and you shall tell them of the mitzvahs to make this sacred clothing for Aaron and his sons. So we find in these 3 places, the oil for the menorah, the taking of Aaron and his sons for the consecration of their becoming Kohanim, and of those of a wise heart to make the special holy garments. In all 3 of these places, it seems, as the Ramban explains, to emphasize that it must come exclusively through Moshe Rabbeinu. And the question is, why? Kli Yakar explains that we know that Moshe Rabbeinu was on Mount Sinai 40 days and 40 nights without food and without water. How is it possible for a human being to exist without food and water? How could that be? The answer is that Moshe Rabbeinu, when he went up to Sinai, Moshe Rabbeinu entered into a different realm. He entered into a realm in which he ascended to a level in which Moshe's spirit, his soul, was so pure and so dominant that even his physical body became nothing more than an accessory to his soul. We're faced constantly with the struggle between our bodily desires and our spiritual desires. When Moshe Rabbeinu, that struggle ended. Moshe was able to ascend to such a high spiritual level in which Moshe's body lost the needs that it had for food and nutrition. But just as a soul exists without actual food, Moshe Rabbeinu's body became nothing more than an accessory to his neshama, his soul. How does the soul exist? When Moshe was on Sinai, Moshe was able to derive nourishment the same way the angels do. And that is from the Ziv HaShechina, the splendor of the divine presence from God himself. The spiritual splendor that emanated from God satiated Moshe Rabbeinu's soul, and his body no longer required any food or any water. Moshe reached a whole different level. Moshe became a vessel in which he was able to achieve and attain a level of sanctity greater than any other human being. Indeed, we know that Moshe earned the title of Eved Hashem, the servant of God, Ishu Elokim, the man of God. What does that mean? It means that Moshe truly achieved the ultimate, highest purpose for a human being's existence, which is to be a living, breathing soul, in which our body is a mere tool to perform the will of Hashem in this material world. And Moshe had a perception of the divine greater than any other human being. And this was Moshe's prophecy. As it says, he saw an asfaklarya de meira. Moshe had the greatest and the clearest perception. Ponim el ponim, it says in Parshas Ba'aleischa. God spoke to Moshe face to face. God has no face. It means that Moshe's perception of the divine, although it wasn't complete, no human being can have such a complete perception. It was the greatest and the highest level that any human being achieved. And for that reason, one of the fundamental principles of our faith is that Moshe Rabbeinu is the Av HaNaviim. He is the father of all prophets. That means his prophecy, his perception, his understanding was greater than anyone who preceded him, anyone who would follow him. And therefore, the prophecy and the words of Moshe Rabbeinu can never be nullified. They can never be qualified. This is the prophecy of Moshe. He was the greatest of all prophets because he achieved this level. Not only did Moshe Rabbeinu achieve a level of prophecy, but a level of sanctity. Moshe was dwelling with the angels, sacred beings, and Moshe dwelled amongst them. Moshe, the Talmud tells us, was even commanded by God to engage in a dialogue, a debate, so to say, with the angels as to whether or not mankind is worthy of receiving God's sacred Torah. Moshe had a debate with the angels, and he was victorious. Moshe Rabbeinu achieved a level of prophecy and sanctity and wisdom as no other human being had ever achieved. This was Moshe Rabbeinu. And therefore, the Klei Yakar explains that the oil that is used for the menorah was not just that there should be a light kindled, but as we know, the Western lamp of this menorah, there was a constant miracle. The same amount of oil was put into all 7 lamps, enough to last through a winter's night, 10 hours, 12 hours, and they all extinguished except for the Western lamp. It burned beyond its capacity and it continued to burn. It didn't go out unless the Kohanim extinguished it so they could rekindle and fulfill the mitzvah. How is it possible that the oil, something made of matter, material, how could it possibly attain a level in which it should be imbued with these properties to defy the limitations of science and nature? And the answer is, Atah T'tzaveh, Moshe, you command, you tell them that they should bring this oil to you. Why you? Because Moshe was not only an individual who attained this level, he was a conduit. Moshe's role was to be Moshe Rabbeinu to teach us. Our sages say that Moshe was like a torch, and those who came with a candle, they could kindle their candles from the torch. Moshe's light could be spread to anyone and everyone who was worthy. And Moshe's illumination was never diminished. You could light 1,000 candles from a torch and the fire on the torch remains the same. And all of these candles are illuminated from this torch. This was Moshe Rabbeinu, V'ata Moshe, you are the conduit. This incredible sanctity and wisdom, the level of knowledge of God, which defies nature and science and everything that we are limited with in our physical existence, Moshe, you can transcend that. And you will imbue the oil with the properties of being able to transcend these limitations. And that's why the oil was able to burn on a daily basis beyond its capacity. And not only that, Moshe, you bring Aaron and his sons to you because they are about to attain the great sanctity of being a Kohen, to perform the service in the temple, for the Kohen Gadol Aaron to go into the Holy of Holies, standing before God's ark. No human being is allowed entrance there. How is it possible that Aaron should attain this? The answer is you, Moshe. You are the conduit. You possess it. You achieved it. And now you can give of that light, of this sanctity, the sanctity of being a Kohen, you give it to Aaron and his sons. And where at Klal Yisrael, no matter how wise they were, where will they get the wisdom to make these sacred garments? Intricate activities, and done with such incredible wisdom. V'ata tedaber. You, Moshe, you are the conduit. Take the wisdom that you amassed and that you attained on Sinai, when you became this Ishu Elokim, this godly human being, and Moshe, give of your wisdom unto them. Let them kindle the candle of wisdom. Let that burn for them on their level. And with that, they will be able to make these sacred garments. That's why the Torah is emphasizing you, Moshe. This, the Klayaka says, is the intent of the Ramban. Only Moshe Rabbeinu, no one else could be the conduit to bring the miraculous function of the menorah, the sanctity of the Kahanim, the wisdom to create these sacred garments. This was Moshe Rabbeinu. And when we think Moshe Rabbeinu's, perhaps his greatest achievement is giving and bringing the Torah unto Klal Yisrael. For in this Torah we find not only the written word, but we find all of the wisdom, all of the prophecy, all that is sacred is contained in this Torah. And it was given to us and taught to us through Moshe Rabbeinu. The flame of Moshe Rabbeinu exists in every single word and letter that's found in our Torah. We call it Torahs Moshe, the Torah of Moshe. How fortunate we are, how blessed we are that we have this Torah. And we can learn this Torah, and we can have our children study Torah, and we can have a 5, 6, 7-year-old, and they can say a pasuk in Chumash, and they can repeat it. And a child can learn a Mishnah and maybe a Gemara, and the children, and we can attend classes. How blessed we are that the wisdom, the prophecy, the sanctity, the essence of Moshe Rabbeinu is found within the Torah that he presented. May the Almighty bless us with good health and peace and success, that we may be able to utilize the gift of life, and that we too should kindle our flames with the wisdom, the sanctity, the prophecy, the knowledge of God, all knowledge and wisdom through the Holy Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu is still giving us. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay Jewish. Have a wonderful